I believe in something that I like to refer to as home base poems. Poems where maybe you're not feeling like reading anything. You can go to these poems and they will reinvigorate your reading um, abilities, your reading hunger. Maybe you are feeling mentally hazy and you can't quite get into anything. You can't quite think deeply about anything. You go to one of these familiar poems and you are able to re-articulate some of those more in-depth thoughts you have had about them. Maybe you're just having a crummy day and you need a pick-me-up. That is what a home-based poem can be. For me, one of those poems is I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. Now, in today's video, I am going to go over a talking point for this poem that I have never gone over before. I don't think it has ever occurred to me before, as I am sort of playing with the ideas of hauntology and what hauntology means and all of these sorts of things. There is a sort of alternative reading that kind of popped out at me, so I wanted to go through that in a video. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for another poetry discussion, which will appear, of course, in the poetry discussion playlist here on the channel. The poem in question is the aforementioned I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, and it reads as such. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze, continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of the bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. For oft when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. So, one of the ideas in hauntology is the idea of the sublime, or the idea of nostalgia. Nostalgia is an interesting human emotion. It is a yearning for something that once was but is no longer. Hauntology, often sort of summed up as the future has been canceled. The pithy Peter Thiel quote, "We were promised flying cars and all we got was 140 characters." This idea that tomorrow is not to be because it will always be today, and today isn't even as good as yesterday. So we are constantly in this gully of existence is something that I find a compelling component, or at least a compelling insinuation of hauntology. But there is an essay, I believe, is what it would be called, The Nostalgic Sublime by James R. Williams. And in that essay, we get this quote: "The sublime is inspiration, not deflation. It is a fearful thrill, not a cozy regret. The sublime builds. It does not wallow in the ruins of collapsed empires," like ontology. "The art of the sublime is modern. It rejects the past and summons a different future. The sublime is change, not regression." And that's the part of this quote that really sticks out to me here. The sublime is change and not regression. James R. Williams titled his essay there, The Nostalgic Sublime. Nostalgia and sublimity are often hand in hand, or at least in how they are explained by the people that feel them. It is a sublime type of feeling to have nostalgia for a thing. Probably there is some era like this in your life. A lot of people have this about Christmas, things like that. That is a sublime type of feeling that they don't really have any control over. That thing comes on the screen. They are in that place, right? And they like it there. But it is not the future. The quote here is, "The sublime is change and not regression." And that makes me wonder, inspiration. The sublime is inspiration. Sublime is change, not regression. Is inspiration itself a type of hauntology? Is inspiration anything other than a willful negation of the likely future? Remember, hauntology is often summarized as the future has been canceled, which would seem to be the opposite of inspiration, as inspiration is working toward a better future. But is there not, in those moments of fervent and motivated work that inspiration entails, is there not, in those moments of fervent and motivated work, a question as to what the future will hold if it is not what the future had held prior to the spirits of tenacity taking over? This is to suggest, right now, in this moment, in the current, in your present, there is a likely future. That future is the accepted norm. The moment you start working towards something else, you are constantly canceling and negating the future. The moment you are inspired in your own life to get up and work, you are canceling the future. You are negating tomorrow. That is the idea at the core of hauntology. In hauntology, it is a little bit of a different mood on the idea, but that's still the undergirdling of the philosophical question or presentation. Hauntology is sort of a slick and viscous thing. Is it a philosophy? Is it a type of criticism? Is it? I don't know. But undergirdling the idea of hauntology is the real idea that the future has been canceled. That's the real thing underneath it. So does the canceling of the future, does the means by which that took place really matter all that much? Through the words of Derrida, to my interpretation, the future has been canceled through a sort of rising laziness. Okay, well, that's fine. Maybe. But so too can't the future be canceled by a motivated hand. In Derrida, the future having been canceled is sort of a promise that we will never get to the place. Certainly, we will never get to the place that was promised. We will never get to the future of tomorrow. The future of tomorrows, the tomorrow of futures. However that works out best, I don't know in the moment, but however that works out best, we will never get to that stellar future. It suggests hauntology through the emphasis on nostalgia. It suggests that perhaps the future will never be as good as what was. So, is that the necessary tone for the philosophy, the idea, the critical lens? I don't know. I think it is every bit as possible that the future can be canceled through the future that was promised not being as good as the future which will be, which would be an empowering idea. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, there's poetry on the channel every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.